Midsommar. Wow. If none of you got that joke from the beginning, go watch the movie. You'll understand. Man, this movie is a tough one to talk about because there's so much going on with it that it's hard to put into words. So we're just gonna kind of rat-a-tat here. We're not doing the one good, one bad. This isn't that kind of a movie.
We're just talking.
Yeah, we're just kind of talking real quick. So we got a couple minutes here. Let's break it down. First things first that comes to mind, the actress who played Danny. Incredible. Yes. Great job. Not only her, but
Florence Pugh. She's wonderful in this. The one that I think she started getting attention from was Fighting for My Family. Ironic.
That's interesting. Okay.
And now she's in this, and yeah. Whoa, incredible performance.
Yeah, and she's rounded out by a great cast as well. A lot of good people. For Katie, there's Eyebrows guy.
Will Poulter.
Yeah, Will Poulter. A lot of great people just all around, actually. And I'm not sure, I'm assuming they were, but I'm assuming they pulled from Swedish, Finnish, Norwegian talent for this movie. Yeah. Because it seemed like those actors were authentic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're really good actors.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say, Midsommar is just all about exploring a new type of occult, so to speak. And we're going like old, Swedish, Norwegian, very, very folksy, crazy traditional, like runic stuff here. Where it's exploring a lot of interesting concepts that we don't see in movies.
If you want like a bit of like a history kind of brief thing, it takes from the Vikings that settled down into farmland and really started that idea of religious tradition, really broke that out. So that's what it's kind of following.
Yeah, and again, like Hereditary, Ari Aster uses this kind of, before pagan, now it's like a little bit different but similar in many respects, exploration of what is like a crazy tradition, and he uses this tradition and this concept to like great effect to actually, again, like Hereditary, break down characters' relationships with one another, and specifically the lead character, Danny, again here, and her journey on despair and coming to terms with loss.
Relating her trials and tribulations to what she experiences within this religious group.
Yeah. And the movie is really interesting because it ends up ending like a horror movie, right? In the last half of the movie, but it starts out with a very psychological thriller angle because it explores her anxiety and paranoia within herself and her surroundings, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, and along with that thriller type style, it does come with that brief, that brevity, there's a few things that you actually chuckle at in the beginning, especially coming from this one...
Will Poulter.
Yeah, this one character, yeah.
Ends up being the jester.
Yeah. But yeah, and then you get into the second half of this movie, which really goes after that gore type of horror. It's this interblending of the genre that's really fascinating.
Yeah, Ari does it so well, and honestly, I'm not sure who the DP on this movie was, but they are also to be commended, because there were a lot of interesting shots and transitions. There are a couple that were just phenomenal. Like, they get you right into another scene, while also, like, making you fully aware of where you went. It was beautiful and seamless, and right now, I'm all about transitions, because I just watched... again, that little short from Star Wars Kids that I love so much, the Jedi vs. Sith short, because that also has one of the slickest transitions I've ever seen. And much like that transition, he uses that here for a specific scene, and I just absolutely love it. I love that stuff.
Yeah, and talking about like being able to transition from a pretty lengthy amount of time as far as how far this story goes. I mean, I think...
It's over a couple days, like a week and a half.
Yeah,
in the second part.
Yeah.
Well, like the good majority of the film.
Yeah, something like that.
Because it starts technically in the winter, and then there's a time skip, but that's only like the first like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, but yeah, they take a good amount of time they're able to just like interconnect all of that, which is really impressive.
Yeah, in the hands of someone who didn't know what they were doing, you could fuck that up so fast.
Oh yeah, and the pacing felt natural.
It did.
Yeah.
It really did. So when we come down to terms with this movie, it's hard to talk about all of the inner workings and inner angles, but I really appreciate, again, this sense of releasing and excising your anxieties. And I think that that's a really interesting angle of the movie. And when it comes down to rating it, like, where would we go with this? I mean, do we just give 10s? Like,
so something that I've really struggled with a lot of movies that have come out, especially from A24, the idea of being able to show those inner demons and putting it all out on the table. And
literally.
Yeah. And much like what we've talked about with Climax, where those kind of exposed those ideas, but did it in a very, I'm going to say, disgusting style. This does it in a very artful manner, and I would say in a respectful manner, to make you feel wrong about things that happen, but also feel right. Yeah, and this is where it gets to that horror part, where it really makes you question what is right and what's wrong about this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part.
Right, and it's not telling you what is or isn't right, it's just explaining how the characters themselves feel in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very moment-based film. So when it comes down to it, I can't help but recommend everyone go see this movie. I do think personally that this is a movie that's not reserved for like the ultra film critics out there. I do think it translates to a more wider audience, but it does have a lot going on in there. So I think after our second, third, fourth, fifth viewing, it's going to have better momentum and it's going to wrap around you more and more and more.
Yeah.
It lingers.
Yeah. I would say that you should be warned, as that this, in some ways, is quite a triggering movie.
Yeah,
yes, because I've seen people come out of this movie being like, I can't do this. Like they're very unsettled, and which is justified. I can completely understand that. So going into this movie, I do recommend it, but
word of caution.
Yeah, be warned.
It's a 10 movie. Another one of the rare 10s this year. I haven't seen a lot of movies that have made me, wow, what a movie. And this one was like the first that I came out of, like I'm speechless, like I'm floored by it. I love it.
I think this movie will put a staple of Ari Aster as one of the masters of horror, up there with people like Hitchcock.
Well, and when we say horror, we're using that in a newer sense.
Yeah,
like, really, it's all thriller based, and then goes from that point.
That art horror style. Yeah. Because this movie definitely makes you question yourself and makes you reflect upon, your experience with grief, with a lot. There's a lot to reflect upon in this movie.
So I think this is going to be another movie we have to discuss and digest on maybe a podcast that we're probably going to try and make at some point.
Yes. I think we're doing finishing touches on certain things for the podcast, so I think we would be able to make a podcast about this movie.
Yeah. So stay tuned here on Worthy Watchers for more interesting content. I know we took a little bit of a break there, but we're back and we're going to bring a lot of new things to the not only YouTube channel, but to Facebook, Twitter, and all the like as well. And soon, hopefully, a couple of those little podcast places.
Yeah.
So stay tuned here for more and go watch what's worthy. Called Hereditary or this movie.
Watch Ari Aster.
Bye.
Bye.